Pause. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, I stand before you as a man nearly 65, but not so long ago I was a callow youth of only 38, resolved to change my life, to improve my situation. And this was no mercurial decision, oh no. I researched this carefully on television and discovered lawyers. Lawyers, as Franny will assure you, make so much money. They wear snazzy clothing. They resolve their problems in 1 hour with time left over for commercial breaks. It's a lawyer's life for me. I went to night school, which turned out to be an acceptable alternative to a social life. The whole year round, except for summer. Evening school in summer means you miss summer evenings when all my friends were doing so much. I endured that first summer, but I schemed. I swore I would do something different the second year, and I discovered summer programs abroad. That's where some fancy school asks some fancy smancy person like a justice of the Supreme Court, flies them over to paradise, has them give 10 lectures, and the rest is handled by local faculty doing some sort of joint teaching thing. Thus, they get a free vacation, the students get great education, and we're in paradise. I took all my vacation time and boarded Austria Air Flight 315 to Vienna connections to Salzburg, and immediately mysterious fate took a hand and plonked me down in the middle of a wide-body jet, completely surrounded by dozens of Teutonic goddesses. An entire beauty school from the little town of Graz was returning from their international study in New York. This set a standard of international travel, which has yet to be exceeded. For the whole time, they wanted to practice their conversational English, which was good news for me. But their favorite topic was, of course, how happy they were to be going back to their boyfriends. Okay, it was a wonderful flight. When I got to school, the lectures were pretty much as I had assumed. Brilliant lectures every morning. Students who were all too aware that the beer gardens were open already and the classes were pass-fail. I'm not saying that attendance was sometimes scanty, for mine was always perfect, but there was one surprise, one thing I had not anticipated. 5 female Spanish lawyers at the top of their departments in the Spanish government who had all decided to take an education vacation in Salzburg. They contributed to the classes very wittily, but they weren't taking the exams. One Friday morning, the tallest and the loveliest of them said, "Randy, did you hear that Czechoslovakia has voted to split into the Czech Republic and Slovakia? We could take the night train to Prague. All the breweries will be open. This is our last chance to go drinking in Czechoslovakia." A worthy proposition. But I counted my dollars, for I was not a wealthy student. I had carefully planned my budget, every bit of money in cash and traveler's checks to take me through to the end of the period. My only option was to reach for my credit card and see what I could do, and realize I had left it on my kitchen table. I was not daring. I gave my regrets. Was this a life-changing decision? Maybe so. I think about that. But the arrow of time goes in one direction, sometimes through your heart. This was not a total disaster, however, for that Saturday, as I walked the streets of Salzburg, reading the signs, here Mozart was born. Here is the butcher shop where Mother Mozart bought him schnitzel. Finally, here is the apartment where Mozart wrote the magic flute. The magic flute in that apartment. Out of the square, there was a fountain where no doubt Frau Mozart came every day to scoop water out in her pitcher. The fountain was surrounded by sullen teenagers, glowering and smoking clove cigarettes as teenagers have for centuries. I looked around for the sign. Here's the fountain where Mozart glowered as a teenager. And I saw a poster for my martial art, Aikido, which is sort of like Tai Chi with wrestling. It was being practiced at the gym right across the river there, starting in 1 hour. So I ran back to the dorm where I had packed my gi for just such an eventuality, rushed to the gym, and just as class started, it was wonderful. 24 men and women throwing each other across the mat, breathing, pinning each other, joint locks. Wonderful. So sweaty. The instruction was all in German, but you know, the body has its own vocabulary in any language. And at the end was the beer garden. We went to have drinks. The chief instructor spoke better English than I do, would occasionally translate a joke and say, don't worry, I have to translate anyway for Johann, he's Bavarian. People are the same the world over. Every now and then, a tiny but muscular blonde would point her finger at me and everyone would laugh, myself included, because between the sweaty exercise and the beer garden, there must come what? The shower. The shower at the gym. Now, I am an American. I was raised very properly. I was not acquainted with the Central European custom of coeducational showers. I took my towel. They're all gabbling in German, having a great time. I hung up my towel. I observed the beautiful ceiling tiles and started the water. Gabble, 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 gabble. I turned off the water. I grabbed my towel, back to the locker. In safety, I'm drying myself off. When this tiny blonde comes to me, gives me the finger of death. Now, 20 minutes before, we had been wrestling and throwing each other fully clothed, but here she was, dressed as Eve, defeating me utterly, for I knew, without understanding a word, that I had taken her towel. I ran and got my towel and threw it at her, hardly looking. Everyone laughed, hooting and hollering, as I blushed down to my toes. Then we went out for a drink that night and about every third night thereafter. My friends, I got my academic credit. I learned the subject matter of those classes. But from this experience, I learned 3 other lessons. Number 1, if you get the chance to go somewhere new, take it. You never know who's going to be in the seat next to you. Number 2, pack carefully and for contingencies. You just might want to take that unexpected train to Prague. And number 3, sooner or later, you're gonna grab the wrong towel. Just roll with it. Someday it will be a good story. Madam Toastmaster.
That's Great, Randy. Thank you very much. Lucia, could you give us 1 minute so people can send some messages privately to Randy in chat about what they thought about his speech?
Yes, I will. Starting now.